Hi everyone, in this video we're going to focus on the turning chain. So I want to show you the 4 basic stitches of crochet. We have double crochet, half treble, treble and double treble, or in American terminology it's single, half double, double and treble. You can see they're all different heights, meaning they have different amounts for their turning chains. So the double crochet requires a single turning chain, the half treble needs 2, treble has 3, and the double treble has 4. And that gives us the height that we need to get up to do our next row. So there's a couple of different ways that we can do the turning chain. We have the traditional method and we have the alternate method. Okay, so let's have a look at what our turning chain actually is. So we've done a foundation row and I've done treble crochet across the top because I want a stitch that has a little bit of height to it so you can see what I'm talking about. We're going to look at the traditional turning chain, then I want to show you what happens if we don't go into the right stitch with our traditional turning chain, and then at the end I'll show you an alternative to the traditional method. So we're working with the treble, so that's a turning chain of 3, 2, grab a stitch marker, pop it on your yarn, and then work your 3rd chain. What that does, pops that stitch marker in the back of your last turning chain, and that's going to be handy when we need it on the next row. Turn your work. This turning chain now becomes our first treble stitch in this row. So instead of working into the first stitch, we've already got our turning chain, so we're going to go into the 2nd stitch on that row. So we've just worked 3 stitches, but because we count our turning chain as 1, we actually have 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we're back to our turning chain of 3, 1, 2, stitch marker on, and 3, and turn your work. Again, turning chain counts as 1, so we miss the first stitch and go into the 2nd. Now that appears like we've got to the end of that row, but if we check our stitches, turning count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's because our 10th stitch needs to come into this spot where our stitch marker is. It might feel like you're working down the side, but you're actually not. Okay, that's working a treble crochet with the traditional turning chain. You can see what happens with that is every alternate row we have a gap, and that's because when we work our turning chain it's counting as stitch 1, so we miss a stitch and come into the 2nd. So what would happen if we didn't miss that stitch? What would happen if we worked into that stitch instead? So let's chain 1, 2, 3, turn our work, and let's work into this stitch instead of missing it. that has done is pushed our turning chain out to the side. So we haven't achieved the height that we need for our treble crochet, and our turning chains come out sideways. So we're going to have bumps all the way along. I'm going to do a couple more rows just to show you what it looks like. Okay, so from my sample here, as I said earlier, the bottom couple of rows are traditional turning chain, and we get our holes in each alternate row. What happens when we don't miss that first stitch and actually work into it? Our turning chain comes out the side and we don't get the height that we need. So we get a lovely bumpy edge. Let's have a look at the alternate method for a turning chain. So we've worked our foundation chain of 10 plus an extra 3 as you normally would. We've worked into the 4th chain from the hook because we're doing a treble crochet. That gives us the height here that we need to come back across. Now we're at the other end. We're going to simply turn our work. Don't wrap your hook. We're going into the very first stitch. Then we wrap our hook and pull up a loop. So you've got 2 loops. Wrap again and take it through both loops. Now we want to split these 2 loops and we want to go into the back loop only. Wrap your hook and bring it through the first loop. Wrap again and bring it through both. Now we need to do that one more time because we need 3. If we turn it on the side, we can see our little V chains. We've only got 2. We need 3 for a treble. So again, split these 2 loops, go into the back loop, pull up a loop, wrap your hook and bring it through both. Check the side, and we've got 1, 2 and 3 chains. That's giving us the height. It's also filled in this gap that we have when we do a traditional turning chain. Now wrap your hook and we're going into that second stitch and continuing as we normally would. So that's our second row. We still need to check our stitch count. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Turn your work. We're going straight into that first stitch. Wrap your yarn and pull up a loop. Wrap again, pull through 2, split that stitch, go into the back loop, pull up a loop through the single one, wrap and pull through 2, split that stitch, go into the back loop, pull up a loop through the first loop, wrap and pull through 2. On the side we can check. We have 1, 2 and 3 chains. That's our sample done with the alternate turning chain. So there's no holes, our edges are nice and straight, as opposed to little holes here and our bumpy turning chains.